So I kind of have reached the conclusion. This is the inverter generator as a backup, but I've reached the conclusion of the experiment with the LifePro cells and battery boxes, all this kind of stuff. I've put in a 50 amp generator plug backup along with the interlock. That gives me full house backup when there's a grid down. This was my first experiment, and I built this box out of a toolkit. It's got 3 of these Rely-On batteries with a 4th one hooked up outside. This came out of my RV, or 2 of them came out of my RV, and they're only 60% good. They sent me 2 new batteries, but I'd already replaced the RV batteries. So I now have 4 batteries that arguably have 320 amps. I've got a 3,000 watt pure sine wave inverter that can charge easily. You can plug Kathy's Volt into it, and you can safely run quite a few things. I've got a 60 amp MPPT controller hooked up to a small array of solar panels outside. I was just mostly trying to experiment with their ratings. For example, the total array is 400 watts. It's facing east southeast on a tilt, so it doesn't get the best sun. It's just what I had on a tool shed. And the reality is that you only get between 800 and 1200 watts out of that set of panels with that direction, which is not a ton of power. Obviously, when I do the home setup, it'll be optimized. This box came from China. It's a 2,000 watt, completely self-contained battery box. They're making a 3,000 watt, so I wish I would have known that. I'm trying to find a place to use this, maybe down in Galveston, and then I will buy the 3,000 watt. But in any case, I wanted to build a battery, so I bought the 304 cells and a battery management system. And other than some shocking results, I'm glad I had my rubber gloves on. I finished that off. So what's interesting is for $600 battery and BMS, I've got 4,000 watts of power sitting inside this form factor. Over here, if I'd have bought those Rely-On batteries for $1,000 each, I'd have essentially 4 of them, and I would have arguably 5,000 watts. But that just shows the difference. That's a 100 amp hour battery, so it's got a different power density than what's inside here. This is really, really heavy. There's no doubt about it. So this will put out 2,000 watts, 20 amp. Has a solar input, so it also has an MPPT controller built in. I've got this hooked up to a little 100 watt panel, and then it's got a 50 amp input output that you can hook up, as I've done. You can hook up chargers, cables, things like that. So these are kind of for tailgating, for charging up her electric vehicle. And the last piece of the solution is I put in an automatic transfer switch here. So I bring in the power that's been saved via solar via this cord. It joins up with grid power, and when she plugs her EV in, it preferentially uses up all the solar power. When that runs out, it switches to grid. So that's a good way to suck up all your solar power, and then I also charge up my yard equipment and things like that using the solar power. All of this is kind of one big lab where I'm just trying to learn what I want in the home solar system, and how to do it yourself, obviously, but how to do it right. I've done a lot of things first time through that I wouldn't do the second time through. Like this guy, I wouldn't have used that battery switch. I would use a combo switch that has the ability to do a low voltage cutoff and things like that. But anyway, the reality is you can build your own, but man, this guy in China is building this thing, and he's putting in good components, and he's doing it cheaper than I can do myself. And so I think the answer is that I'll build the batteries, but the actual box, clearly he's able to buy components at wholesale in China, package this up into a pretty functional unit, and for $1,000, I've got 4,000 watts, and I can go up to his 3,000 watt box, and that is a third as much as some of these commercially available solar backup units. So I would do that if I were somebody trying to do a home backup. But even if you don't build your own battery, even if you buy the batteries, I spent $600. You could spend $1,200 on the batteries if you're not going to build your own. You're still going to come in well under $2,000, and the competitors are going to be anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000. So next up will be the whole home solar. Somewhere over there will be a 15K inverter, and then a wire chase, and batteries. I haven't decided on how much I want in the way of batteries. I'm not going to go overboard on batteries simply because I do have the backup generator. So that'll happen in a few months. And so in the meantime, signing off from the DIY Solar.